Hello everyone, I've not reacted to Wolters World's videos in a while because I noticed a handful of comments that he had some over-exaggerations or just some things that were more of the tourist side because he didn't spend enough time in locations to really get the true idea. And Mr. Wolters World decided to make a video about Kentucky and the don'ts of visiting Kentucky. As you can see, I am a Kentucky native. It's me, Bryson P. And today we're going to react to Wolters World, Kentucky, the don'ts of visiting Kentucky. I would like to say that because I am a Kentucky native, that doesn't necessarily mean my views and opinions are 100% concrete, because these are my views and opinions based on where I live, and I can't give my own opinion about the entire state because I've not lived in the entire state. So Wolters, of course, welcome to his opinions, and I don't mean any harm or foul towards Wolter. Let's get started.
Hey there, fellow travelers. Mark here with Wolters World, and today we are in the beautiful Commonwealth of Kentucky. And today what we have for you are the don'ts of visiting Kentucky, because whether you're going to be visiting the Bourbon Trail or heading out to Lexington or enjoying Kentucky Lake and having some fun there, I think it's important for you to know some of the do's and don'ts of visiting Kentucky. And the first don't I have for you when you come here to Kentucky is don't forget to keep the first weekend in May sacred for Derby. Yes, the Kentucky Derby is more than just one day. It is a complete kind of festival for, mostly Louisville, but the entire state gets into enjoying the Kentucky Derby. And whether it is going to the Oaks on Friday and wearing pink, or wearing the funny hats or the crazy hats for the actual Derby, you must realize that the state, especially Louisville and that region, completely shuts down for Derby. And what's cool is it starts like a couple weeks before.
Walter's correct so far. The Kentucky Derby is a huge deal. I've never been. From where I live to Louisville, it is about 4 hours, but I've never been to the Kentucky Derby.
With Thunder over Louisville, the biggest fireworks display in the U.S., so it's a really cool time. It's not just about horse racing, it's about having fun and celebrating so much. And then, of course, having the most exciting 2 minutes in sports, right, for the Run for the Roses. But don't forget that first weekend in May, kind of important here in Kentucky. Another thing that's important here in Kentucky, and another don't you need to have, is don't think that all whiskey is bourbon. Look, all bourbon is technically whiskey, but not all whiskey ends up being bourbon. Bourbon has to have at least 51% corn in it versus rye or wheat or whatever. So it has a different flavor. Also, it has to be in a newly charred oak barrel, so it gives a distinct flavor and smoothness and just fantasticness, okay? So don't think that whiskey and bourbon are the same, okay? They're not, because there's definitely a special feel and experience of drinking bourbon and exploring places like the Bourbon Trail when you come to Kentucky, and you'll start to understand the difference. And that's why don't mix them up with the locals, okay? And when you are out doing the Bourbon Trail, my next don't for you is don't forget to have a designated driver that's going to drive you around the state and drive you around to the different distilleries around, because there's big distilleries, there's small distilleries, there's beautiful scenery to see on the way, there's restaurants to go to.
The Bourbon Trail, there's multiple places across Kentucky where you can go. And like at my local tourism center, we have the passports that you can get, so that way you can go to different places, and if you visit so many of the places, then you get, I think you can send it in or get some type of reward or something. One of those places on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail is the Casey Jones Distillery here locally where I live, and it would be really neat to maybe take you guys there one day and show what it's about and do like a tour.
But you need to be safe when you do that, so maybe you take a tour, maybe.
But this isn't really a tip, though, Walter. I mean, it's illegal to drink and drive anywhere, and you shouldn't do it. You should always have a designated driver, so this is not really a tip for visiting Kentucky. This is a tip for drinking in general.
Maybe you have a designated...
Don't drink and drive. Seriously.
...a driver, but do enjoy the Bourbon Trail, but enjoy it smartly and safely. And I think one thing is important is you're going to be doing the Bourbon Trail. I think you need to realize is don't get burned out by the bourbon, because you start having so many flights and so many tastings that sometimes you can get little, like, it kind of blurs together. I mean, not just because of all the bourbon, but just because, oh, another distillery, another distillery. So what I would say is kind of plan it out. Maybe do 2 distilleries a day and go explore a city, Go to Louisville and see some of the distilleries that are on Main Street there. Whiskey Row you can go see, like Old Forester.
I appreciate that he's pronouncing Louisville the way that we would pronounce it. I know a lot of people that pronounce it Louisville or Louisville. Here it's pronounced Louisville. So thank you, Walter, for doing that correctly as well.
You can see that and then enjoy some of the sights that are there, okay? We're here outside of Frankfurt, so we went to Woodford Reserves. We checked that out. We're going to see another small distillery nearby, and then we're going to go check out Frankfurt, okay? So just remember, you don't want to bourbon yourself out when you're here because it can happen. I know it sounds crazy, but it can happen. And I think that's why it's important to say, don't just drink your bourbon straight. Look, if you're here in Kentucky, there's so much good bourbon. There's also great bourbon cocktails you can have. Old-fashioned, yeah, have an old-fashioned when you're here. A lot of people have a mint julep, the official drink of the Kentucky Derby. But I will say, for that mint julep, don't have more than 1 mint julep because it's bourbon, some simple syrup, and mint. So you're just drinking like a glass of bourbon. So it can be a bit strong, it can be a bit much, and it can be a bit potent as well. And a lot of times people, they come to Kentucky thinking, I have to have a mint julep. But in reality, you'll notice that not a lot of the locals are drinking it, but it's something you should have when you're here.
Not a locals are drinking it. I've never had one. I didn't even know it was like an official drink of the Kentucky Derby. Never. I thought that I didn't even know it had bourbon in it.
But have one and try some of the other bourbon cocktails, okay? Oh, and also for my friends going to...
I might have to get one now just to try it. You taught me something, Walter.
Derby. Don't say the Derby. That's a no-no. You just call it Derby, which seems weird when you say, hey, what are you doing for Derby? What are you going to wear to Derby? You're like, should it be, what are you wearing to the... No, there's no article. It's just Derby, okay? Now, my next don't for you is don't think that being either red or blue has to do with politics in Kentucky. Oh, no. You'll see a lot of license plates that say a house divided, and it's red and blue. What they're talking about is the red is for the University of Louisville Cardinals, and then you have the blue for the Kentucky Wildcats. This is a rivalry true and true. So if you can go to one of their games where they play against each other, go to it. I mean, this is basketball mecca here. They just such good basketball from either team you can go see. So if you can't see a rivalry game of them playing against each other, just go to any Wildcats game. Go to any Cardinals game. You will have a good time and see some great basketball.
I will agree with that if you're a basketball fan. I've never been to one of those games, but it is the UK. Where I live, it is UK all the way. Everything is UK. It gets pretty serious around here, especially come like March Madness or whenever it comes down to the end of the season where we get into the finals and everything else and breaking down into the brackets. It's not a joke. They get pretty serious about this stuff around here.
But don't be surprised if people ask, are you red or blue? Because they're not talking politics, they're talking basketball, and they're talking the universities. Now, another don't I think is important for people to know is that when they think of Kentucky, they think, oh, it's a southern state. And I have to say this, don't think that Kentucky is fully a southern state. Yes, you will see that you do have the southern food and the southern friendliness, but also you have kind of Midwestern practicality when it comes to accommodation, when it comes to prices, and some of the other food that's here. So think of it more like a southern state with a good hint of Midwest in it. And what doesn't signify the Midwest more than good old Abraham Lincoln? And my don't for that is, don't forget that Abraham Lincoln, who is known as, Illinois' president, the land of Lincoln is Illinois, but actually Abraham Lincoln is actually from here in Kentucky. And don't worry, they'll let you know that many times in the state. You can actually go to his birth home. There's a museum there you can check out. It's actually kind of neat to see. But just remember, he's originally a Kentucky fellow. And another important Kentucky native is Colonel Sanders. Colonel Sanders, Mr. Kentucky Fried Chicken. Yes, he is from here in Kentucky. And actually, you can go see his grave in Louisville. You can actually go see it. But I think my don't for that is, don't think Colonel Sanders and...
I'm just curious if there's any other video or footage from other parts of Kentucky. It's just all... It's all right in here. It's all talking about right in here. If you can see where I'm at on the mouse. It's all this stuff right here. But what about all this right here? What about all this down here where I'm at?
Kentucky Fried Chicken is the only place to get great fried chicken when you're here in Kentucky. Because honestly, wherever you go throughout the state, you will have fantastic fried chicken, okay? So definitely have that when you are here. And you don't have to be Kentucky Fried Chicken. You can just get fried.
Our Kentucky Fried Chicken sucks. How about that? The one that we got, our KFC down the road, is horrible. But not everywhere. Not everywhere. Not all. There's some good ones. There's some great ones. I've had some great KFC. Oh, I love some KFC, but I like fried chicken, so it don't really matter. But the one here in my town,
chicken fried in Kentucky, that might be a better way to go. Oh, and another really good treat that I really enjoy when I come here, you'll find it throughout the state, but it's really from Louisville originally, is the hot brown. And what it is sometimes they'll say, oh, it's like a turkey sandwich. I'm like, no, dude, it's so much more than that. It's toast, roasted turkey breast, and then there's a Mornay cheese sauce, and there's tomatoes and bacon, and they bake it. It's just, oh, it is a melt in your mouth tasty, but also it will melt your mouth because it's so hot when they serve it, but it's so good. I mean, it is a huge calorie bomb, but it's worth every single calorie. And it's from the Brown Hotel in Louisville, so you can...
I've heard of a hot brown, but I've never, I don't know what it is. I've not heard of a hot brown in years. I'm talking years. That's a, regional thing of Kentucky, I'm assuming.
Go there and have the original version, but you'll find that lots of places serve more like an open-faced sandwich. So it depends how you like it, but you can find that, okay? And another don't I think is important to mention to people is, look, don't think that Kentucky is just Derby and bourbon. Because honestly, this state has a lot more than the amazing Bourbon Trail and all the distilleries you can go visit, and Derby and early May where you have all the festivities going on and the race. You have a lot more to the state. I mean, heck, you can go down to the Cumberland Pass and you can check that out. And you can go see the Cumberland Falls that are there. Oh my God, the nature here. Go to Kentucky Lake and around May or Lake Barkley. I mean, there's so many. You can go on the pontoon boats. You can go out there. There's all kinds of cabins that are going to be great. But don't just think it's just bourbon and Derby. There's so much more to enjoy in this state. And one thing I think is another important don't I have, though this state is known for its bourbon, don't think you can get alcohol everywhere in Kentucky, because some part of the state actually has dry counties, so you can't actually buy alcohol there. Now, you can have alcohol, but you kind of want to know, is it a dry county where we're going to be going? Because if it is, I need to bring in that bourbon. I need to bring in my beer to enjoy going on the lakes or going to certain places.
I didn't know Kentucky had dry counties. Where I live, we can't buy alcohol on Sundays, but in Tennessee, you can. And the border is 20 minutes. I mean, it's nothing to get up on Sunday and just drive the 20 minutes to Tennessee and go to the liquor store, buy whatever you want, and then come back home.
Places are just to have a nice, relaxing time when I'm here, okay? So I wanted to get some of those don'ts out of the way so you knew before you come here, okay? So now we're here at Churchill Downs, and I know I just said, don't think that Kentucky is just bourbon and Derby, because there's more to it.
But Walter, that's all you've shown, buddy. If Kentucky's more than bourbon and Derby, show us. I'll show you. How about that? I'll be the one to show you. I'll show you my part of Kentucky in future videos.
And I'm not going to deny that, but come on, it's Churchill Downs. It's where the Kentucky Derby's held. We have to film this here, all right?
You didn't talk at all about Mammoth Cave. And Mammoth Cave, I pulled it up just so that way I can show you just a brief real quick, okay? More than a cave. Rolling hills, deep river valleys, and the world's longest known cave system. Mammoth Cave National Park is home to thousands of years of human history and a rich diversity of plant and animal life, earning it the title of UNESCO World Heritage Site of International Biosphere Reserve. So it is the world's longest known cave system, and it's here in Kentucky. I think it's like 2 hours from where I live. I mean, if it's more than the Derby and bourbon, tell us about the cave. So there's a lot of things that, of course, Kentucky has, just like anywhere and everywhere. There's so many things that are gems and special to your area, to your state, to your country, to wherever you live. You know, and you can't get them all. But at the same time, this is kind of just two things. There's a lot more to Kentucky, I promise you.
Now, another don't I think you should know about coming to Kentucky is don't think that bluegrass is blue. Okay, bluegrass, you have bluegrass music, but bluegrass is a style of grass. It's a type of grass they have here. And the only blue you're really going to see when you're here is all that University of Kentucky blue, you know, go Wildcats. You're going to see that. And the University of Kentucky basketball is really a truly Americana kind of thing. And I think there's another thing we need to remember about, you know, Kentucky in general, and that is don't forget about all the things that are truly American that are from Kentucky. The Corvette, oh yeah, made right here in Kentucky. Duncan
The Corvette, yes, it's only made in one place in the world. The Corvette is assembled at the Bowling Green factory. That's where it's made.
Hines, those brownies that you can't pass up. Maybe you've heard of Fort Knox. That's here in Kentucky. Oh, have you ever had someone sing you happy birthday? Yeah, that was written here in Kentucky by two ladies from Kentucky. And you can't forget...
Never knew that. Had no clue.
...about the American pastime baseball. Well, this is where the Louisville Slugger's from, here in Louisville, in Kentucky. So don't forget to say
Thank you, Walter, for at least showing the Louisville Slugger Museum. I've been there, and I have went through and done a tour of that whenever I was a child. I loved it. I don't know where the picture is of me standing outside that baseball bat, but yes, I have been there.
Thank you to Kentucky for some of the most Americana things that are out there. Now, going back to our don't think that Kentucky is just Derby and bourbon. Really, don't pass up the nature here in Kentucky. There are so many parks. There's so much nature, so many waterways you can go explore, whether you're going to Lake Barkley or Kentucky Lake, or maybe you're going to visit the Red River Gorge, you're going to hike there, and you're going to the Appalachians and hike through there. Or maybe you're going to visit Mammoth Cave to go explore that, or perhaps you're just going to go to Daniel Boone National Forest. I mean, there's so much outdoor stuff to enjoy when you're here and drive around and visit that you really should get out to nature when you're here.
I apologize, and I retract my aggressiveness, if that was the tone I had towards you, about not mentioning Mammoth Cave. I'm glad that you did mention Mammoth Cave, but I'm also glad still that I gave you all more information about Mammoth Cave, because it is the largest cave system that we have. And that's something that's, you know, it's right here where I live.
So bring those hiking boots so you can go and enjoy some of those paths. And I think another note that kind of goes off of all that nature and all the waterways and everything is don't think it's going to be a straight shot drive to locations around Kentucky because of all those waterways, because of the hills, because of the mountains, because of the fields, because of everything here.
Yes, I love those roads right there, what he's driving on. We have a lot of those where I live, and these types of small roads, this is what I'm used to. And this is Kentucky. Absolutely.
You have a lot of winding roads, and so you might be taking the back roads. It's not just 64 all the time, okay? You're not just taking the highway. You're going to be driving around, and it's going to have a sharp turn here, a sharp turn there. Oh, we're going underneath a railroad bridge. Oh, and did this railroad stop us already? Twice? Yes, it does happen. So do give yourself some more time.
We got a train that comes through town. We got people at work all the time that get stuck because the train is coming and they got to wait for it to pass, or they'll try and go around, and by the time they go around, it's just, you know, trying to beat that train sometimes is a horrible thing.
Especially you're going to be exploring the Bourbon Trail and you're going to be going, you know, off the highway. Don't expect to be a quick drive when you're here. Now, another thing I think is important that could relate to if you're going to come to Derby or if you're going to be coming to the Bourbon Trail is don't forget to make reservations way in advance, especially if you're going to want to come to the Kentucky Derby, because things book out a long time. Like, it's pretty much been always held on the first Saturday in May, except for like twice ever, okay? So you know what's going to happen. So if you're going to come, plan ahead, book your accommodation, reserve your restaurants, reserve your parking, figure out how you're going to get here and get away from it when you're coming to Derby, okay? But also, it's not just worrying about the Kentucky Derby and making reservations then. If you're going to be going on the Bourbon Trail during the summer and the fall, spring, on the weekends especially, it's important to make reservations for the distilleries so you can make sure you have a spot in the tour. Some of them you can walk into, some of them you can't. If you got a group of buddies, not just yourself or you and a friend, but you got 5, 6, 7.
Bro, you've already talked about the Derby and the bourbon. We get it, man. This is why, okay, I understand this will probably be my last Wolters World reaction. And it's not to be mean, Walter, I respect you as a creator. I respect your art, but it's not for me, and I don't feel like it's for my audience. And it definitely has given me some ideas, and I learned some stuff from you. I just wish that you would have talked about more than the bourbon and the Derby and the bourbon and the Derby.
But 8 people coming with you, it's
Another thing that is really close to where I live, it's actually like 20 minutes from where I live, is the Jefferson Davis Monument. And it is a 351-foot tall obelisk, the tallest unreinforced concrete structure in the world, and honors the only president of the Confederate States of America, because Jefferson Davis was the president of the Confederate Army during the Civil War. The obelisk marks the birthplace of the first and only president. You know, it takes a while to find it because it's off the interstate, but you'll see the tall obelisk way before you even get to the park. There's even an elevator that you can ride to the top and get a view of everything around.
really important you make reservations on the Bourbon Trail, not just for the distilleries, but also for a place to have lunch or dinner when you're out there enjoying the bourbon and the trail and the Bourbon Trail, all right? Whether you're coming for Derby or the bourbon or the beautiful nature, I know you have a great time when you're here. If you want to learn more, maybe the don'ts of visiting Louisville, the don'ts of going to Derby, or maybe what to eat when you're here.
So that was Wolters World, the don'ts of visiting Kentucky. I hope that you learned something from his video as well as from my video, from the comments I received from y'all, and then viewing something about where I live myself. I feel like there's a lot more about Kentucky to offer. And if you're watching DNA 350 ppm, I noticed your comments about wanting to see more of Kentucky. So this is a start to that. I hope that you have a great day, great night, whatever time it is that you all see this. It's me, Bryson P. Goodbye.